Hello, everyone. I'm Nabeel Ramji. I'm a CEO of Pedesting. Welcome to Pedesting Podcast. And this podcast is all about accessibility, urban design, architecture, and education. So today I'm pleased to be joined by Stephanie Davies, who's a property manager at GWL Realty Advisors. Thanks, Stephanie, for joining
Thank
me
you.
today.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here and chatting with you.
Awesome. So, you've been an advocate of accessibility for a long time. So, at Pedesting, property managers are one of the key stakeholders we work with. They've been connect with visitors and ensuring the pedestrian zones are integrated successfully. So, congratulations, on you the first property manager that we've had on the podcast. So we feel to have you on the podcast with your perspective. So, congratulations on your recently recognized at BOMA Decent Moving Leader Award. So I wanted to ask you, what does that recognition mean to you? What does it say about value and impact property managers have on the industry?
Thanks for asking and thanks for shouting out the award. So, yeah, at BOMEX in Halifax 2 weeks ago, I won the National Emerging Leader of the Year award. And it was such an honor to win that award. It was in large part due to my initiatives with the Rick Hansen Foundation and participating in the Buildings Without Barriers Challenge from 2023, 2024. So I don't think I would have that award today or have won if I hadn't really gotten involved with accessibility within my company and within the Rick Hansen Foundation. And so it's just been a really big eye opener that has not only taught me a lot, but it's opened a lot of doors for meeting people such as yourself and going to the Rick Hansen conference, the APN. And it's just been kind of a whirlwind last few years. But it's just been a great kind of feeling to know that I've been working hard on this for my company and that there's recognition at the end of the day, but it's not about the recognition. It's just kind of showing that, yeah, you can just do a small thing, do your part, and you can make a little bit of difference.
And sometimes those can be big things for me. I know, but we might get into it later. But when I came to visit you in Vancouver, and I came out to Vancouver City 1 and 2, you showed me this amazing outdoor patio that overlooks downtown Vancouver. I was so amazing, I told you right then. And then, like, never been able to experience the outdoor environment such as that patio. So a breathtaking views. So thank you for showing me that space. And like you said, it can be something small or something big. So
Yeah. I think going around the buildings with you and Aaron was so important, but it was also really special. And it was so nice to see your reaction to that accessible patio because it's something that I wouldn't think about, right, on a daily level. And going out there with you and you saying, this is my favorite patio in Vancouver. It was like, it's on the 29th floor in the heart of downtown. And it is amazing to realize, yes, you can get out onto it and there's no barriers there.
yeah, so I would kind of like what kind of set the next question. But your day-to-day experiences. So as yourself, you often set the center of the building ecosystem. So from
Mm-hmm.
your perspective, what makes it really unique compared to owners, developers, tenants, and how do you give you some the best showing up to impact the day-to-day experience for how people might use a building?
Yeah. I think from a property manager's perspective, we're kind of the like boots on the ground, day-to-day overseers of the property. So it's important from our perspective to take care of the little things as well as the big things, because we're just like overseeing almost everything, whether it's the large capital projects or the small accessibility changes we can make. So I think that's a big way we can influence, is that we have the ability to kind of look at our budgets and look at our capital and kind of carve out what we want to make important for us and our properties from year to year.
And do you do that assessment like at various points in time, or could I mean, some of them can be proactive and planned, but have you ever experienced things that come up spur of the moment that requires attention? And what do you do about it? Because accessibility capital improvements are not cheap sometimes. So how do you manage those expectations and not get frustrated? Because sometimes you do have capital budget constraints.
Exactly. That's a good question. It was something that I know I've shared with you before, but when we first started looking into making our buildings accessible, we really were like goaling to get Rick Hansen Gold. And as you know, my story is that you need the visual fire alarms to get gold certified. And I looked into that for the better part of a year with engineers and had a report done up for one of my properties. And it was going to be really, really expensive. So that's a big barrier that you can run into, I think, when you're trying to kind of reach for the top straight away. But, if we don't have the money, I hope that one day I'd be able to put it into a capital plan of mine, because I would love to get gold at one of my properties. But then it kind of just brought me down to realize that there's a lot of other more cost-effective options that you can work on. And it's not always about getting gold, right? It would just be about making your building more accessible in the small ways that you can afford with your budget.
And thanks, Stephanie. I think that's a great segue from the next question, where people like sub-property managers can know where operations succeed or fall before anybody else. So, what are the most common challenges do you see that help keep running smoothly for all users?
Yes, the day-to-day is always different. There's always something new to tackle with tenants or projects you're working on. And we just try to find time to make accessibility a priority. So the challenges would be that you're trying to do it all, like finish all your capital projects and, answer every email and make sure every tenant's happy with everything if they need help with anything. But then you also want to carve out the time to work on things like making your buildings more accessible, getting them Rick Hansen certified, and you just need to kind of prioritize what you're going to focus on. So it would be up to a property manager what they're going to give their time to.
That's good. That makes a lot of sense. Then we always competing for these, and it's important to cover time for things that can be impactful. So I wanted to shift my focus of accessibility question. So, from your point of view, how does accessibility surface in day-to-day building operations with an elevator signage, tenant requests? For example, when I visited Vancouver City 1 2, it was a very complex space.
Mhm.
Quite often one of the biggest pain points for tenants, for visitors like myself, for example, that day. So from your experience, how do you see tools like Pedesting fit into that overall experience of visiting a building?
Yeah. I think Pedesting fits in so well into a cityscape and city properties because of exactly what you said. Like, you are just a visitor, a guest coming to the building. And if you don't work here every day, you don't know what to expect. So if you had an app like you have and are able to look at it and give yourself a little bit of familiarity and comfortability before you arrive, I think that's a huge win and a huge added bonus that a property could offer. So I think it's just a great app, a great tool that makes a lot of sense for not only tenants, that tenants could offer it, but that, anyone, if you're going to see, a client or you have out of town visitors coming in, or, if we have medical practices in the building, you're coming in to see a dentist or a doctor, and you would just be able to know before that you're going to be able to get in, where you can park, where you can get out, that curbside item we were talking about here at my building. Like, it's true. You're just never sure if you're going to get off the ramp and then there's going to be a sidewalk that you can't get up.
Yeah, no, thank you, Stephanie, for that was it kind of a highlight. Everyone talking, you were kind of highlighting the potential business case for accessibility. So, do you see, accessibility playing a role in tenant satisfaction, or retention, and, and like you said, have you seen a direct connection of accessibility and the business side of property management? Like, having those conversations with the tenant about accessibility can be beneficial from an economic impact standpoint.
Mhm. Yeah, I absolutely see accessibility playing a role in our retention of tenants, and also giving us an upper hand in leasing and future leasing, right? If tenants are committed to accessibility as well, and that's important to their company, they're going to look for a building to lease space in that has, an app like Pedesting or Rick Hansen accessibility certification at that building, because it shows if they're on a level of commitment, and we're there right with them. So I think that it does play a role in attracting new tenants into our building. And then the Rick Hansen accessibility certifications show our commitment and our hard work, and that, we have compassion and we do care. So if they were to come and say, I love that you have the certification, would you ever consider this, and this? If it would make it more accessible, of course I would. I'm a property manager that wants to make my tenants happy, and I care. So I would absolutely consider more changes, and I'm just trying to do the best that I can each year and each day.
That's great, and I think that for GWLRA leadership and accessibility, for those that don't know this, when we first met last in 2024, GWL Realty Advisors were recognized for two major recognitions for accessibility. One was the building without barrier challenge, with you identified before in this conversation, and also there and one specifically over the Canson Foundation time the war Pacific Blue Cross building in Vancouver. I was amazed to learn, Stephanie, that GWLRA has now 29 buildings that are certified by the Canson for first of all, congratulations to you and your organization. So with that in mind, what did this milestone say? Was it the award of a number building certified? What does it say about the growing importance of accessibility in real estate? And how do you think it's shaping the way that buildings are designed and experienced?
I think, yeah, thanks for giving us this recognition here. It's been a journey, and it's been, I think, a really fun and rewarding one also. It's been eye-opening, and it kind of brought our company together in some really nice ways. So it started small. It started at BOMAX 2022 with really realizing that Rick Hansen does accessibility certifications, and we would love to get that for our buildings. And then when the Buildings Without Barriers Challenge popped up, it was like realizing, why not? That's such a good opportunity to commit and bring this company wide. So by doing that, it just brought, like I said, our companies across Canada, and to be able to kind of bring everyone together to participate, sign up, work on your properties, do some good, make some fun, like small changes. If you could, then it was just, yeah, it was a really good opportunity. So not just for wanting to, do the most and win the most. It was just to, like, at the end of the day, like, make a small commitment. And then by offering it to more people across Canada, a small commitment like becomes a bigger one. So it's not like it's all my work or all Laura's work, who I worked with on the challenge, but it's like, well, it's all of ours. It's all of our awards. So that was really great.
And all know that's amazing how got really buying across the organization from the national perspective. So I was going to ask you a follow-up question like with that many buildings certified, I am noticing that the tenant provisions more curious about accessibility or overwhelming. It was the Wisconsin Foundation Accessibility Certification. Are you seeing more broad awareness of accessibility amongst your tenants and visitors?
I am, yeah. I think when we announced last year that we had gotten all the certifications, that was nice to advise the tenants that we did receive the certifications. They'll see the decals on the lobby doors. So that was a nice thing to announce and tell them. And then, yeah, I think a lot of the tenants' feedback was really positive, that it's like, thank you for doing this. It's nice to be leasing with a company that does commit to such good goals and objectives. So it's brought a lot of engagement to our organization and our tenants as well.
Oh, that's great. I kind of want to set a bit more toward the design and a bit more conversation about technology. So, from your experience, what accessibility wayfinding barriers it's an open that overlook brain in the design or construction phase, but it'll become clear, more operational.
Mhm.
Like it's obviously thing more operational, but from your experience, what do you think the over
Yeah, I think that one of the big ones that I always bring up is the visual fire alarms. It's very expensive. You know, it does get overlooked. And now that you realize that it's one of the main, changes you can make to get gold, it's like, well, why wouldn't we start building buildings that would have that in from the get-go, right? So that's a big kind of overarching one that I always think about and talk about. But the other little ones are just when you do that consultant walkthrough, and like also when I walked through VC1 and VC2 with you, it's so eye-opening that just little changes could be like moving paper towel dispensers closer to the sink so that if you were washing your hands and then had to wheel all the way across the washroom to get your paper towel, like that's not easy. That's not accessible. That's just going to be a mess. And then, if you're in the washroom, are you able to clear under the sink to even wash your hands? So little things like that are just really eye opening. But then the easiest ones are just working on increasing your signage, visibility, contrast, stair nosings. That's what we would just call the easy wins, right? That are just easy to work on, and you can really work on those, one a week, one a month, something like that.
No, that's great. The best way I like to describe it, if it comes down to, is it functional for the user? And it can be very small details that you don't think about. Sometimes we're talking about millimeters, which is very different. Somebody
Exactly.
help me a lot, but make a huge difference. So
Huge difference.
thank you for highlighting some of our experiences together. So anyway, we briefly talked about possessing cameras of different that I can make another building. But from your perspective, have you seen the rise in technology where it can make a big difference in your property that you have and pretend that have you seen a rise in technology overall to the overall
Hmm.
yeah.
It can make such a big difference. And the day and age we're living in is just, there's an app for everything, right? So I think it's just so amazing that you created this app that's helping people. It's also technology based because we're all on our phones all the time. So if you are, bringing this out to people with disabilities and they're going to, be on their phone and know that something's going to be able to help them, then there's really no negative to it. I just see all positives from that perspective. Like we're in an age of technology and this is an app that's going to help people. And why not offer that out? Because that's going to be a huge, positive to help a company like yours out and have our company buy into this, which is just, there's no kind of downfall. It's all benefits that I see.
One of the things that I'm super excited about is it can give it good insights. Maybe some of the couple of improvement that might be high priority. So I guess I've come to every tool that can help inform capital business making, but I'm excited about that potential. We get more locations, building overseas better for everybody. So on that note, Stephanie, I kind of, as a property manager, you have great insight into uh, tenant expectations and when the behavior maybe starts to shift before anybody else. So, from your perspective, what are some of the trends that are currently shaping the future of office and commercial buildings? And how do you see accessibility playing into those expectations?
I think if tenants are looking for office space and they want to factor in accessibility, then it's easy for them to see, are we Rick Hansen accessibility certified? But if we also had an app like Pedesting that we can offer as well, I think, that would be easy straight away for tenants to want to lease space with us. So the benefits are absolutely there. And then if we were, building more accessible spaces straight away, then it would also be another way to attract tenants that were looking for accessible space. If they were looking for lower countertops, if we had some spaces that we were building with lower countertops, or sinks with the knee clearance, then if you were a company looking to lease, we would be able to have that straight away to offer you instead of building it out after the fact.
Well, thank you, Stephanie, for, I kind of want to start, wrapping up and got two more questions for you. And then someone who recently recognized as a emerging leader. Um, this new wave of corporate management are now stepping into leadership roles like yourself. What life of quality do you think will help define the future of corporate management, especially in the lives as we've been talking about technology? Looking at I Stephanie is kind of, I find it so fascinating how a lot of the technology has impacted many things, but many concession insights that have to be technology related. I
Mhm.
support what do you think will help to find the next wave of managers?
I think that finding just one or two people in your company to buy in, as you'd say, to championing accessibility is important. It only takes one or two people to get the conversation started, and then it grows from there. So I think we're now in a great space where we realized 4 years ago we should get into this space and it's important. And I'm really glad we did, because maybe a lot of people would look at that like wow, it took you this long till 2022 to start looking into this stuff. But, at least we did when we did, and it's never too late, right? At least we're doing this now and getting into this now, talking about it now, and bringing this, certain things like joining the Buildings Without Barriers challenge. So it doesn't feel too late. It feels like it just, we're gonna keep with it and grow it. So it's been good. And then the technology aspect is, like I said, just ever growing and evolving and so important. So to hear about Pedesting, learning about it and trying to get it set up in Vancouver is just one of our future goals at this point.
Amazing. Well, thank you for those kind words. And as we're wrapping up, maybe you can share some advice to your colleagues or peers, you know, I built one big champion, just building one of the great places for people that use it every day. Well, I know that you said earlier, finding a one or two champion in the organization. But any other advice that you would recommend to those people who maybe might have difficulties finding a champion? Is there anything else that you would recommend to them to start
Yeah.
champion
I like
accessible?
to say, like, you should just start small, right? It started with a few of us in our Vancouver site office after BOMX in 2022, and it just grew from there. So you don't want to get overwhelmed and say, I need to get every single property in my entire company certified in this amount of time. And, that's the only option here. Like, it took a few years. It took, like I said, some investigating into like trying to get gold after the initial walkthrough at one of my properties. It just took time. So start small and grow over time. It could take years, and there's nothing wrong with that because these buildings will still be here. We'll still be leasing them. You'll still be trying to make them better, working on their overall operating. And so, yeah, don't overwhelm yourself. This whole process is such a learning experience. So just enjoy it for what it is, that you can ask silly questions, and then you'll end up like just getting to the answer, and everyone will be better for it.
No, that's some great advice, Stephanie, and thank you for saying it because I would echo your comment about being patient with the process and journey. I have to believe, I was involved with the Canadian Foundation, like early days of the creation of the Canadian certification. I remember when I was talking about, I think it was like right before COVID. I can tell you over the last 5 years, I've seen the conversation getting louder and louder over the years. So not to get excited about for the future, how the industry is coming together. I want you to design spaces that work for everyone. So I really do appreciate you taking the time, Stephanie, have an engaging conversation and demonstrating the the leadership role that you're taking within BWLRA along with your colleagues and really wanting to make an impact on
Thank you so
everyone.
much for
So
having
thanks again.
me. Thank you for having
You're
me.
welcome.
This has been great.
You're welcome. All right, take care everyone. Hope to see you soon.
I hope to
Bye.
see you soon too. Thank you, Nabeel.